My message today is entitled Passion for Goodness Sakes. Passion for Goodness Sakes. I'm doing a series all this year, of course, with words that start with P. And since Valentine's Day is coming up, I chose passion. Well, the word is kind of confusing. Have you seen the movie The Passion of Christ or ever been to a passion play? Now, that word used, the passion in that word is the old use of the word. Passion actually comes from a Latin root meaning suffering. So if you saw that movie or go to a passion play, you're going to see suffering. That's the original meaning of the word. It later came to mean strong emotions. So the word, like many of our words, has evolved. Here's some current meanings that I got from dictionary.com. Any powerful or compelling emotion or feeling, as love or hate. Strong amorous feeling or desire, love, ardor. Strong sexual desire, lust. A strong or extravagant fondness, enthusiasm, or desire for anything. A passion for music, for example. The object of such fondness or desire. The example is, accuracy became a passion with him. Now, theologians think of passion as something deep inside, like we were singing about that love a while ago that comes from deep inside, that we connect with and act out of. Frederick Buechner calls it the original shimmering self. He says the original shimmering self gets buried so deep that most of us end up hardly living out of it at all. It gets buried under so much stuff, but it's down there, that original shimmering self, that passion. The dancer, Martha Graham, talked about it this way. She said, there is a vitality, a life force, an energy, a quickening that is translated through you into action. And because there is only one of you in all time, this expression is unique. And if you block it, it will never exist through any other medium, and it will be lost because it's yours. Don't block it. The world will not have it. It is not your business to determine how good it is, nor how valuable or how it compares with other expressions. It is your business to keep it yours clearly and directly, to keep the channel open. I got a copy of this month's Inquest, which is the periodical that comes out once a month from the Church of the Larger Fellowship. I'm a member of that, the Church of the Larger Fellowship, which is a UU congregation that is all over the world for folks who may not be near a UU church, but anyone can join it. A lot of times it has also a lot of folks that are, for instance, in prisons, and has large membership there as well. But in this particular one, their associate minister had some words about this. She said,
the passion, the burning desire that pulls our bodies together in acts of love, is the same erotic passion that stretches our bodies in dance, or links words to flesh in poetry, or fills the mystic in ecstatic union with the divine. The force that links us together is shared striving for justice, comes from the same deep chaos and connection that pulls lovers into one another's arms. Somehow, I just can't believe that there's some kind of law that forbids that kind of passion from happening in church.
amen. Should be happening. And then, for those of you that love Audre Lorde's work and the uses of the erotic, she doesn't talk about it as passion. She uses the word the erotic, but it's coming from the same thing as you'll see. She said,
in the way my body stretches to music and opens into response, hearkening to its deepest rhythms, so every level upon which I sense also opens to the erotically satisfying experience, whether it is dancing, building a bookcase, examining an idea.
So she says, down in my body, or something like that, it's going to stretch out like we do in yoga to the music. Open up, we're going to open up, and we can feel those deep rhythms. That's passion, folks. That's what's down in us, what we're going to try to talk about connecting with today. Where does it come from? Where does that passion, that love, that, as she says, the erotic, where does it come from? Well, some passions do seem to be inherited from our parents or our caregivers, maybe through genes, or perhaps taught or modeled by them. You can probably think of some in your own life that you can say, I got this from my family members, people that raised me, my grandma or my dad. But then there are others. Neil deGrasse Tyson says, the most successful people in life recognize that in life they create their own love. They manufacture their own meaning. They generate their own motivation. They create it themselves. So how does that happen? And where does it happen in our bodies if we create it? That's my fist. Have you ever noticed how your fist kind of can be a model for your brain? Here's your brain stem down here. There's your brain. So if this is my brain, the passion part of it, where it's kind of coming from, is right in the middle, according to scientists that I've read. Here's a better picture. Right in the middle, you have the ventral tegmental area, the VTA. It's in the midbrain, and the neurons there synthesize dopamine, which then sends axons that send to the other places in the brain. Researchers observed that this area was activated in proportion to how motivated a person felt. So the higher the motivation, when they put them under the MRI, this area lights up. So we can kind of see these things now. We know what's going on here. So you get all these, drugs being put through your body that help you to feel that, yes, I'm very motivated by this. I'm very motivated by this. It is a physical thing. It's not just some kind of idea. Something physical is going on with you when we create our passions or when we feel our passions. That feeling of euphoria, that feeling you get when you're engaging that is something truly meaningful to you, something that you really love, that feeling of euphoria, it is real, and it is something physiological that happens within your brain and moves throughout. You feel it all over. So we can create it. That's what the scientists tell us. It's not just something we might have genetic. We can create our passions. Is there a recipe for this? If you have something you know you should feel more passionate about, or you wish you felt more passionate about, can you create it? Is there a recipe? Well, Tyson says that indeed, and other scientists, that we can rewire our brains. Rewire our brains. Now, we know that little children constantly are rewiring and developing their brains. But even people like me, 66-year-old people, can rewire their brains and develop and learn and become more passionate about some things. It's called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity. It's the ability to rewire your brain using behavior. That's how you do it. You don't get in there with a tool. You use behavior to rewire your brains. Here's some non-alternative facts about this. The more a network of neurons is activated, that is, the more often neurons fire together up in your brain, the more often those are activated, the stronger the connections become, physically stronger. They become stronger the more you activate them. Just as your muscles, when you go to yoga or exercise and you activate those things, those are going to become stronger. That's true in your brain as well. When you activate certain ones, those are going to become stronger. If a network supporting a brain function is repeatedly stimulated through practice and training, it's repeatedly stimulated through practice and training, it will become stronger, contributing to the optimization of that brain function. So, ye have heard it said that practice makes perfect. But I say unto you that practice makes passion. Practice makes passion. Now you think about some of the things that you currently have a passion for. Greg loves to ride his bike. He has a passion for it. But probably when he first began to learn to ride a bike, he didn't have a passion for it. He had to work on it. He had to practice. And the more he's done it now, he's developed a passion, so much so that even after that bike accident, he's still back out there on that bicycle. He's developed a passion, but it happened through repeatedly doing it, And we can do that, even for things we think that it's just not part of who we are. I'll give you a personal example. I grew up in a non-sports family. My family didn't do much with sports. My mom and daddy weren't sports fans. It wasn't on the television all the time. So I wasn't really much of a sports fan either. I went to the high school ball games to be with my friends, but I didn't know the rules of the game, I wasn't really a sports fan. But then, when I was 17, I married into a sports family, the Page family. Now this family, the three Page brothers, Fred, Vic, and Will, that's all they talked about. I mean, you didn't have a conversation about anything else. It was sports, sports, sports. All the different sports. And I came into that family, and I'm just sitting there not knowing anything about what they're talking about. And it occurred to me that if I wanted to enter the conversation and be a part of the family, that I needed to at least learn something about sports. So I began to study and read about sports. I began to get the sports page and read to see who was doing what with the different sports. And I was doing it just because I wanted to understand the conversation. But guess what happened? I did it so much, and then I talked with them about it. I became a fanatic. I became a sports fanatic. I mean, I was fighting with them over who got the sports page, And then I became a big, huge Georgia Southern fan. That's me with my friend Dave. Dave and I have nothing at all in common, except that we were Eagle fans. So we sat together for like 20 years and cheered the Eagles on, I became a huge sports fan because I practiced it, and it became a passion for me. But then I got involved in Unitarian Universalism, and then I even took on another congregation. I didn't have much time for sports. I quit going to the games because I wasn't here all the time. I quit reading about them in the newspaper because I had way too much to do. And folks, I still would like for Georgia Southern to win, And I still, I watched some of the Super Bowl because it was a Super Bowl, and I wanted to see the halftime show. But I don't have a passion for it anymore. I don't have a passion for sports. I have a passion now for many of the social justice things I'm involved with and for Unitarian Universalism and many other things, but I don't have the passion for sports. I didn't keep those connections strong. I didn't keep exercising them, Now, frankly, that's all right with me, It's okay. You got to let go of some things. So I've let that go. So ye have heard it said, find your passion and use it for good. Well, part of my problem was I wasn't finding a lot of good ways to use that passion. Although sports do connect folks, I have to admit, when other things do not. But I say unto you, find and or create your passion and use it for good. So you can find it, something that was already there that you've had all your life, like I've had a passion for reading all my life, or you can create it. You can create your passion and use it for good. And there it says it. I'm going to give you some questions to wrestle with because that's what we do in UU. We like to wrestle with some questions, think about things, think about how we would react to things. So here are some questions for you to wrestle with about passion. What were your childhood or youthful passions? Think about it, if you can think that far back for some of us. For some of you, it hasn't been that long ago. And which ones have lived to tell the tale? And why? How do you know you feel passionate about something? How do you know that this is, quote, what I really love? Has your passion ever gotten you into trouble? How has your passion changed? Are there things you think you need to be more passionate about? And is it worth the time and effort? Because to get passionate about it, you've got to spend enough time with it that you make those connections fire off about it. And folks, you can't be passionate about everything. I'm very involved now in some very social justice movements, and I'm hoping we can make a difference in the world, and many of you are too. But we can't all work on everything. So we kind of have to choose, which things do I have more passion about, and can I put more time and effort into? And maybe I can make phone calls on the other stuff, but I can't go to all their meetings and give my money to all of it, and march in every march, right? So think about it. Which things are worth the time and effort for you? Because if you're not going to get any joy out of it, of working with it, and pleasure out of trying to make a difference in that area, then you need maybe to find another one. And don't let people tell you, oh, shame on you for not joining my group. Because don't you care about the environment? You should be, on the Green Sanctuary Committee, right? Well, some of you should be, but some of you need to be on some other things too. Some of you need to help Eric with some music stuff, What is your passion and what can you work with? Not only in this congregation, but in other places. And how can you use your passion for good? If sports is your passion, you probably can use it for good, Maybe we should have a UU softball team. Connect with some folks that way. What you need to do with your passion is think about it this way. Somebody shared with me to think about how, put some spaces there of how you spell it. Passion, pass-I-on. That shimmering eye that's deep within you, the shimmering eye that we talked about earlier, pass it on. Pass it on. Don't keep it there. Find a way to connect and pass it on. I went to, speaking of marching, I went to the Women's March, January 21st, 2017, to represent some of you all. And I saw a lot of passion there. A lot of passion being expressed in many good ways. And some of you had asked me if I would take some time during one of my sermons to share with you a little about what I saw and what I witnessed and what I experienced on the March on Washington. So I thought, well, this sermon on passion may be the right time to share this. So I'm going to close out this sermon with you by sharing with you a little about that. And the way I'm going to do that is with a cheer. Going after my old cheerleader days, I was not a cheerleader in high school or college, but I was always maybe one of these frustrated cheerleaders and still am, either cheering for ball teams or now cheering for social justice movements. So I'm a little bit of a cheerleader. So I'm going to lead you in a cheer. And I've got some props here. Cynthia knitted this hat for me to wear. Isn't this nice? There's little cat ears here. All right. Cynthia knitted the hat, and I have my megaphone that I use for my Georgia Southern days. We're going to do the cheer where I call out, give me a letter. We're going to spell passion. Give me a P, you say P. But then after each one of those, I have got a sentence with a little alliteration sharing some things about what I witnessed or experienced at the March on Washington that has a lot of those letters in it. Okay? So here we go. Give me a P. P. I saw people powerfully participating with pink pussycat hats, provocative posters, and prayers. Give me an A. A. I shared anger, anxiety, and angst about arrogance and affluence and appetites gone awry, while authors and angels shared affirmations and hallelujahs for the audience. Give me an S. S. I sang songs of sorrow, sadness, and soulfulness, and songs of solidarity and strong sensibility. Give me another S. S. I sought salvation through sympathy with sisters and siblings who sincerely searched for solutions. Give me an I. I. I inquired for information and ideas for instigating involvement of interested individuals to initiate incisive improvement. Give me an O. O. I opted for openness and opportunity while opposing an obnoxious, offensive orange oath. Give me an N. N. I heard narratives that noted necessary needs of neglected neighbors too numerous in our nation while nurturing nonviolence and non-proliferation of nukes and narcissistic Nazis. What do you got? Passion. Say it again. Passion. One more time. Passion. May we all connect to our passion so it may energize us to work with others for peace, liberty, and justice for all. Amen. Blessed be.